Welcome, Flames Nation, to an exciting new journey here. Obviously, most of you should be familiar with The Point. That's probably how you access this video and our written work, but we're trying to do something different. We're trying to bring a different way of exposing Liberty sports and getting the promotion for Liberty athletics out there. And so we're starting something new. Every month, we're going to be doing a video, 30 to 45 minutes, where we discuss 3 relevant topics of the Liberty fandom. Today, it's going to be football focused, but it won't always be. We're going to be bringing on the writers from The Point and also special guests. We have a very special guest with us today who I will introduce in a second. But today we're going to be talking about 3 important and very interesting topics. The first one is going to be the general quarterback discussion, especially how the new Trey Lowe transfer impacts that quarterback room, who we might think ends up getting that starting spot for Liberty. Of course, that was a big point as of last season and how it impacted the way the season ran. So that's a big focus. So that's going to be our number one, is the quarterback discussion. Second is going to be our schedule review. Obviously, the Liberty schedule just dropped for 2023, first year in Conference USA. A lot of people very excited about it. We're going to talk about how our initial impressions of the schedule have come across, and then also what our favorite matchups may be. And then our final one is just some thoughts, some closing thoughts. This might be the shortest section because we're probably going to spend a lot of time talking about the other 2, but we're going to do some discussion of Chadwell, what he brings to the program, and what our thoughts are on this hire. Of course, former Coastal Carolina coach there. Great to bring him away from that into a fandom that actually has a good football team. All right, so we're going to be talking about 3 points today: quarterback discussion, schedule review, and thoughts on Chadwell's new coach. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Sippi from Sippi Sports Show. Liberty fans should be familiar with him. He has done a lot of interaction with the fan base prior to the Liberty versus Southern Miss game. He had fans on his channel to preview the matchup. He's gone on some other Liberty sports focused podcasts as well. He's got a very active YouTube presence. Definitely, I'm going to put the link. Will be available on The Point to his YouTube channel, so where you can go and follow him. So make sure that you do. But before we get started, Sippi, just kind of introduce yourself to the fan base here, man.
Man, look, appreciate y'all fellas having me on. Yeah, man, big Southern Miss fan. Been a Southern Miss fan my whole life. I grew up. It was the closest game. I lived on the Gulf Coast, close to Biloxi, Mississippi, and the closest place I could go to find, my dad could afford to go to a football game. He couldn't take me to a Saints game. That was kind of expensive. But he could take me to Hattiesburg, 40 minutes from the coast, and go to a Southern Miss game for $5. I mean, it was cheap, man. And my dad had season tickets my whole youth, and Katrina hit, and it shuffled some things and brought me over to Louisiana to the swamps. And, we've made Southern Miss games any chance we could, and I'm talking football, baseball, basketball, all of it. So, man, it's an honor to be on and support the school that has, in a sense, they've never given me a handshake, but they've given me good times. The school never, extended anything to me except for, just great memories with the Pops, so I'm here to support that. And, the show's growing good. It started during COVID, and I was going to the Southern Miss game. They told me I couldn't tailgate. So I would just go park, go straight to the car, go to the game. Straight to the game, leave. You couldn't hang out after. So you had to leave, go straight home. So I was going 2 hours from Louisiana to the game, driving 2 hours back every weekend. And I was like, there's got to be more to it. There's got to be something else to this. And I went straight to YouTube. Like I was saying, jumped right to YouTube. And I said, man, I'm going to find somebody to talk this game, boy. I was just hot. Just couldn't get it out. And I think I can't remember who the first guy. I think it was Tulane 2 or 3 years ago. I just went live on YouTube, just raw, uncut, and people chimed in, and I said, man, if one person listened, that's enough. If somebody heard me, I did something, so I kept rolling with it, man. And it's blown up. We got a store, we got doggone merchandise. We're on the Liberty show right now. I mean, my goodness, folks, come on now. We're all over here. And it's just been a blessing, man, to be able to do all this for sports, and be a fun fellow for it,
Well, thanks so much for coming on. Here's your virtual handshake part of our program. Thanks so much for being part of this. And obviously, some new people are going to hear your voice today, and we're excited for that. So we'll get right into the discussion here. Again, our time is trying to be keeping this as close to 30 to 45 minutes as possible. So we'll just get right into the discussion. Quarterback discussion, question number one. LU has 5 scholarship quarterbacks. This is according to their website, what they're bringing back. So we've got Jonathan Bennett, 1,534 yards passing last season, 58.5% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, also added 181 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns for a 2.4 yard average per carry. He was the starter from kind of the middle of the season, pretty much through towards the end. Obviously got Liberty the BYU and the Arkansas wins. It was part of those wins. Then you have Caden Salter. Of course, he's someone that a lot of the fans are excited about. 1,086 yards passing, 58.4%. So again, not a super high completion percentage. It's kind of a trend you'll see with a lot of these quarterbacks, but 58.4% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks. Very good runner, 284 yards on the ground, averaged over 4 yards carry and 2 touchdowns. But he only really played the first third of the season before he had a groin injury and then ended up playing right at the end, starting the bowl game. Nate Hampton, he's someone who's got his name in the mix. I mean, he's been someone who's kind of been hanging on there, definitely the 3rd, 4th string quarterback the last few years. But last couple of years there, 76 yards passing, 37.5% completion percentage, no touchdowns, no picks, but he did get some extended game time, especially towards the end of games. And then you've got Reese Mooney. He is someone that a lot of people are excited about. He's part of this 2023 class straight out of high school, 6'1", 200 pounds, 46th quarterback ranked in the country. So 46 by position, according to 24/7 Sports. 29 offers, including 12 Power Fives. He was offered by Ole Miss, Kentucky, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, to just name a few big SEC teams. We actually flipped him from Vanderbilt. He also, not to dig anything in here, but he also was offered by Southern Miss. And then we've got Trey Lowe, who I know obviously Sippi that's the main reason he's on the show today, to give his insight into that. Of course, he's willing to discuss any of these topics with us. But talking about Trey Lowe, the Southern Miss transfer, he's playing in his 5th year in college football so far. So a lot of experience. Started out at West Virginia, played a couple of years for them. Then he went over to Southern Miss, and he's played 3 years for them. So actually, this is his 6th year, isn't it? 6th year of playing football. So he's had over in his career over 1,600 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks. Last year was his most prolific, 956 yards passing, 57.1% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he only played in 7 games. So there's a lot to discuss here. You know, we're kind of in a similar spot to where we were last season, where we had a quarterback battle brewing. We didn't know who was going to start, but I think we're also in a different spot here because we now know what a lot of these guys could do. You know, last year, most of those guys, besides Bennett, you didn't know what they were capable of. You know, Salter hadn't played in a couple of years. You know, Brewer had been injured. Nate Hampton had only had some minimal game experience, whereas now you've got 3 guys here with over 1,000 yards passing. All of them have game tape to review. I think we're in a little bit of a different spot while also being similar. I want to talk about what Trey Lowe brings to the table, and I want to, specifically here with Sippi, and I want to open it up to the general discussion about where we think how we think this battle may run out, who our favorites are, and that kind of thing. So kind of the first thing here is just what are your initial thoughts? You know, as a Southern Miss fan, you watched this guy play. What are your initial thoughts on him, Sippi?
My initial thoughts on Trey Lowe is signing, and I'll say my thoughts on him signing with Liberty, and not just me, y'all. The whole Southern Miss fan base was a shock. Him and Ty Keys, both quarterbacks that left out. Ty Keys is on a visit up to Syracuse right now. Both of them guys we saw as, you know, we thought they would maybe go to somewhere like a Louisiana Monroe or a Alabama A&M or a Jackson State, Southeastern Louisiana, North Carolina Central. We kind of saw them kind of going down a grade simply because of the lack of success they've had at the D1 level. So when it came to Trey Lowe, when we first heard about Trey Lowe, you got to understand he was a 2-time athlete coming in from West Virginia. He played baseball and football over there. So we were extremely happy having I'll say it, man, a top 25, top 10 baseball team right now in the country, Southern Miss. We thought we were going to get some baseball out of Trey Lowe. And the Trey Lowe show decided, no, he's not going to play no baseball. Trey Lowe show is going to decide he's going to play some football. And he stuck to it. And we saw a lot of progression with Trey Lowe. The problem with him at Southern Miss was, you know, we've for the last 3 seasons been looking we've been going through them. No one stayed healthy. We've had injuries here and there. Trey Lowe's been having injuries. Ty Keys had injuries. So we've been a Frank Gore Jr. led team for the last 3 years. And that's not by, hey, we have Frank Gore's son. Let's make him the captain. No, he's actually earned it. Now in the beginning, it was kind of like that. But since Trey's came, we had high expectations. Anytime you get a transfer from West Virginia, especially a two-time athlete, you're thinking, my goodness, something's going on. I mean, right down the road, Reese Mooney from Denham Springs is lighting it up here in Louisiana. And now we hear he's going 2 times sporting it to Liberty, playing baseball and football. Huge, huge get. I don't think y'all understand how big of a get that is. Living here in Louisiana, we call him around here the best quarterback in the state. So when we heard he was coming to Liberty, we all said the only reason he's coming is because they offered him in both sports. And that's kind of the get up. And I wouldn't be ashamed of that, Liberty fans. I think that's a great reason to get somebody. But with Trey Lowe, I keep going back to his time at Southern Miss was my goodness, it wasn't what we wanted. All right. Now, my expectations for him going to Liberty, all respect to my boy Trey Lowe show, y'all just got the best number 2 quarterback in the country. I would not start this guy. That's my opinion. If I was Liberty Flames and old Jamie, doggone you son of a gun, had to go to Coastal to Liberty. But if I was, I'd stick to my guns, man. I'd stick to Bennett. I'd stick to Salter that just, my God, dismantled Southern Miss on the ground. I mean, that's where I'm at. Now, look, this guy, as a Southern Miss guy, knowing the ins and outs, he's transferred to a school that he can go and finish his doctorate degree. He's very into getting his degree. That was one of the main reasons he came from West Virginia to Southern Miss, is because we offered the program he was after. Same with the teams he was looking to transfer to. He wanted to go to a school that he could finish his doctorate degree. He's already got his master's. This guy's extremely intelligent, y'all. He's worth kicking the tires on, in my opinion. It's worth it. If your main guy goes down, Trey Lowe, he's proven he can come in and win ball games. He's one of the best game managers we had on the team. But ultimately, in my eyes, compared to what y'all have already on your team, he's going to be one of the best number 2s you got. That's just where I'm at with Trey Lowe show.
So you think that he brings more of a presence in the locker room, more of a almost assistant coach on the sideline, helping build up the guys around him with his game awareness and knowledge, and then also being a reliable backup versus necessarily being a game 1 starter?
100%, yes.
Okay.
Trey Lowe is now, it's weird. He's going to business school / law school. All these different. He's got a bunch of stuff going on. I'm telling y'all, this guy's extremely intelligent fella. The thing is, he wants to be a football coach, right? So he's extremely smart, but he wants to coach football, folks. I'm just kidding. No, but that's kind of where he's leaning towards. And his dad's a coach. His mom's a really top news anchor in Tennessee. They're all from Tennessee. His brother, Kyle Lowe's at Middle Tennessee State. We were all trying to get Trey Lowe time. We tried to get the Lowe show ×2 in Southern Miss. We didn't get it. Now our Trey Lowe show is leaving. So, man, I think he brings a lot, like you said, off the field, in practice. He's a coach on the sidelines all day, brother. And the maintaining factor, that goes back to him being a good coach, being intelligent. He's never really lost us a game at Southern Miss. He never lost us the game. If anything, he maintained it all the way through it to where we could win it. But I'll say this: he never threw the winning touchdown either. He never ran it in to and to win it. He is that manager. I can't stress that enough. And I mean, be excited for him, but understand, you have better on your team, in my opinion.
Well, talking about what we have on the team, because, this isn't just about bringing in Trey, and I might have been mispronouncing his name. I heard you saying it differently than I did, Trey Lowe. This isn't just about bringing in Trey Lowe. I mean, Liberty has quality quarterbacks, and that was almost the issue this season is they had too many quarterbacks, and they couldn't make their mind up on one. No quarterback was able to feel comfortable and get into a rhythm because every quarterback seemed to be right on the tail coming into the game. Hopefully, here with Chadwell, he'll make a decision over this offseason to pick one. But if you guys were in that spot, if you guys were sitting there going, all right, this is going to be my starting quarterback, and we'll go around the room here, who would, and even we'll end here with Sippi. You've kind of talked a little bit about these guys, but I'd like to hear your side and who you think, the opposing fan side, who you think should be the starter here for Liberty. Obviously, someone who's experienced one of these quarterbacks and then is familiar with the other two as well. So going around the room here, who do you guys think should be that number one starter? And do you think they're going to keep it all the way through the season? Do you think they'll be able to survive the year as the number one? We'll start. So John, you go start off there, man. Here, I'll help you out here. I'll unmute you. Yeah. There you go. I asked to unmute. You should be able to approve that.
All right. I honestly, in my opinion, I think it's Salters to lose. I think he has the skill set. You think about Chadwell's system and all that. However, an interesting angle on this is that Chadwell was actually on looking and recruiting a certain quarterback on our list here, Bennett. So my question is, when he was recruiting Bennett, does he have a special spot in his heart for Bennett? And so that would be my only angle I would bring into this. But for me personally, I think Salter will fit the system the best, and I think it's his to lose. But I think Bennett has some play too.
Well, obviously, player loyalty is a good part of the sport in certain aspects, but it can also be a little bit of a downfall. Everybody knows that I'm a huge Hugh Freeze fan, and even though it wasn't necessarily the best exit, I still am. But my biggest issue with Hugh Freeze, besides questioning occasionally his play calling, was the player loyalty factor. I felt sometimes we kept certain players in the game or gave certain players playing time because of the relationship they had with the coach versus necessarily what they brought to the field just intrinsically to themselves. So, yeah, you're right. Chadwell having that relationship, I don't know what his tendencies are. I don't know if that's part of his MO, but having that relationship with Bennett there might play an impact. But Salter's going to be the guy and play through the year as the quarterback. Okay, cool. Duke, who do you think? Who you got?
I'd take Jonathan Bennett over any of the other quarterbacks. I thought he had the best season by far. He stepped into a role that he didn't even think that he was going to have going into the year. And he stepped up big with the BYU win. He just looked so good. And once we started getting Caden Salter back after his groin injury, when we were just flipping quarterbacks in and out, that just did not work. I was on the sideline yelling at them, saying, what are we doing? Why are we going back and forth with two different quarterbacks? And I did a little bit of digging into the Pro Football Focus grades for these quarterbacks. They got Trey Lowe as the best quarterback by far over any of the others. And Jonathan Bennett is 207th out of 269 quarterbacks in the league that are eligible for their ranking. And Caden Salter, just bottom of the barrel. He's
really
300 out of 308 quarterbacks eligible at his rating level. So he's he shouldn't have been the option at all this year. I think it was a huge mistake starting him in the bowl game this year. And I think that's a huge reason why we lost is we didn't go to Jonathan Bennett to start the game and we didn't finish it out with him.
So how do you explain some of Bennett's earlier? He caught fire against BYU, but before that, you had fans basically chanting for him to be kicked out of the game. I mean, you could hear it on the audio of some of these games where fans were basically chanting like, we want Hampton or, whatever. So he had a rough start, and I think fans kind of forget that because I do think that a lot of Liberty fans live in the moment. You get so energized up with what's going on right now, they forget that they may have thought something about someone previously or said something about someone previously until the moment arises, and I've been having that discussion on Twitter. But I think that a lot of fans forget that he really struggled. I mean, he looked like a third string quarterback for a good chunk there of the season. And then he caught fire, looked great against BYU and Arkansas. Then he lost his running back. And of course, there were some other things going on with Hugh Freeze potentially, but that maybe impacted the last three games. But he also didn't look like the quarterback that beat BYU and Arkansas the last three games. So how do you kind of explain the beginning struggles and late struggles? And you don't think that perhaps those two games where he was really good were the fluke versus the struggles being the fluke?
I do think that the struggles were a little bit more flukish. He didn't really get enough time on the field throughout the season to really show why he deserves that starting role. I mean, Liberty's been blessed with Malik Willis, and you're living in that legacy. So the fans are kind of used to seeing a gunslinger who can also run the ball. and can just take the entire offense on his back and win a game without the defense doing anything. And in that role, especially in the quarterback position, it takes a lot of time to get settled in, and you can't just throw someone in. It's like throwing a pinch hitter in a baseball game. You're coming off the bench late in the game in a big situation. It's a lot to ask from someone to go in and get a hit or to win a game against a good team. All these teams are pretty good that we have faced last year. And I think he did a decent enough job to earn that starting role next year. And I think against Caden Salter, he had that one kind of fluke game against Southern Miss where he was thrown in after the Charlie Brewer injury, and he closed it out late in the game where he looked really good. But after that, I don't think he really finished out the game very well. He would get off to a strong start, but just didn't look good. It would all fall apart.
Okay. All right. And you think Bennett will get the starting nod? You think he'll be better after a full offseason here to kind of build and develop himself, and that you think he'll be able to survive the full season as a starter?
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Trey Lowe get the starting nod. He was recruited for a reason. Pro Football Focus does seem to think that he is a far better quarterback than anyone else Liberty has at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Trey Lowe getting the start, but I would like to see Jonathan Bennett starting at quarterback next year.
Okay, awesome. Josh, what you got?
Yeah. Hey, Sippi, by the way, thanks for being on, man. It's great to meet you. I've watched your show quite a bit, and man, awesome to meet you, brother.
Hey, thank you, brother. Awesome, man. Great to be here.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to go a different route. I don't know that any of our quarterbacks were necessarily unbelievably consistent last year. Bennett was not at times, and sometimes he looked on fire, like with BYU and Arkansas, and other times he didn't. Salter had his struggles too, man. I'm going to go with Reese Mooney, man. I'm wondering, because Zippy, you got me a little hyped, and I've read some other things about him. We might have got a steal in this recruiting class with Reese Mooney. I'm wondering how good he is as a freshman, and maybe Chadwell ends up looking at playing him. So I'm going to go Reese Mooney, man, kind of out of the box.
So you see the new coach coming in with the new quarterback, establishing a brand and a new legacy, and someone who's completely raw and doesn't have any presuppositions or bad habits, someone he can work on a mold, going with the brand new true freshman quarterback at the start and building up his offense and his brand around him.
Yeah, I see that. I think man, I can't remember what grade Grayson McCall was when he started. Was he a freshman for Chadwell when he first came in, or was it redshirt?
I'm going to have to pass. I don't remember.
But he's not afraid to play a young guy. I know McCall was a younger quarterback when he started him, either a redshirt freshman or freshman. And I think Reese Mooney, man, he had a lot of people after him, P5s. He was talented. He might be a guy that steps in and surprises people.
Wow. You know what? Going with the true freshman would be a bold take, but it would be an exciting way to start the Chadwell era. I'll wrap up at the end here. I'll let Sippi say his thoughts, but I will say that before you say anything here, I will say that I'm excited really for any of these guys. I think a lot of them add different things. I said that last year as well. And I think we've been blessed and cursed in a way that both these back-to-back years since Malik Willis, we've had a wealth of options at the quarterback. I think that ended up being a blessing, and it also ended up being a curse last year because that wealth of options meant that no guy solidified the starting point. I do think you need stability at the quarterback position. But I think, again, whether it becomes a blessing or a curse, I think depends a lot on how the head coach handles it, and we'll have to see. But Sippi, you talked a little bit about Trey Lowe. You talked a little bit about Reese Mooney. You also talked about Caden Salter. Man, I'm getting all mixed up here. But you talked about a few of these guys. Outside perspective here, who do you think is going to get this start? Who do you think is going to carry it the year?
Well, I gotta start here first. Is Charlie Brewer coming back?
No.
All right, so he's gone. Now some gun just decided to go to Utah, Baylor, Liberty. Now and ain't no telling, he might be in Mama's kitchen eating on my doggone pork chops. No, ain't no telling where he's going. But no, I figured he was in the mix still. Glad y'all corrected me. I guess out of JB and Salter. My goodness, you still got Reese there. You can't just I can't see y'all redshirting him, but with all the other talent you have there, as a kid can play 4 games and still get a red shirt. I mean, I love it, Josh, man, but it's like you get a kid for both sports, right? You get a kid for both sports. 9 times out of 10, he's going to come to that school and pick one sport after that freshman year and stick with it. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do that. Look at Plumlee, John Rob Plumlee from Ole Miss at UCF. I mean, he's playing both sports and he's doing good at it. But hey, how cool would it be to see Reese go up there and get the starting gig, man? I mean, that speak volumes for not only the state here in Louisiana for recruiting, but for the kid in general and Liberty, man. I love the aspect from, Grayson McCall. That's exactly right. He was extremely young. I know he was a freshman. He couldn't have been no older than that. Took the ropes for the shots, man. I don't even know their logo, the pissed off chickens. And ultimately the guy, he's a legend there. And when he went to leave, people were really crying. When he hit the portal, you saw the Coastal fans on YouTube crying over it, man. That's their best play. It's like if Brett Favre tried to transfer from Southern Miss, man. We'd be hooting and hollering down here and burning the rock down, It wouldn't be all right. That's our best player in school history at the time. But I guess when you hit me in the face with who's going to start, brother, I guess I got to go with JB. I mean, I agree with Duke when he said about Salter. It was kind of like everybody has every new mop cleans well the first time. He went out there and he kind of batted some cleanup for Liberty, got them through the overtime and won the game. But it goes back to what have you done for me lately, man? And when I look at Salter, man, and I watched that bowl game, I didn't see the same Salter that I saw against Southern Miss, going to a 4th overtime and beating us. I don't know what happened. I don't know why, I don't know if Brewer was hurt, if Bennett was hurt. I don't know what happened. It's not for me. I'm not that deep into Liberty, but I will say it was a little odd. I thought it was odd to see Salter in the game. Now, I will confess, I didn't know if he had played the last 2 games before the bowl game. I still don't. I don't know if y'all had went and flipped the script and said, this is our guy for the rest of the year. That's what Southern Miss did with Trey Lowe. We picked him at one point in the year. We just decided, you know what? He's the oldest guy here. We're playing a true freshman in Zach Wilkie. We had Ty Keys, who he's just brittle. It seemed like all of our quarterbacks in the last 3 years are just all injury prone. Every single one of them. As good as they are, they're all injury prone. So we're trying to find and just kind of an Iron Man. We're just looking for someone to last 12 games. But for Liberty, I'm going with my boy JB, man. I think JB could. He fits the mold. I mean, he can take a hit. And from a Southern Miss fan, man, you need someone to stay healthy. And I don't know, did he get healthy? Did he get an injury last year? Is that why we didn't see a lot of him?
No, he was good. He just didn't play in the bowl game. But he played the rest of the season. Decision was made not to start him in the bowl game.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going with JB, man. The same decision I had last year when I had the Liberty Flames on my show. A whole bunch of them, man. I can't even remember all of them, doggone. Just Liberty Flames came in left and right, doggone. Just fanning them here, fanning them there. They just wanted to fan them all over the country last year. And, man, I'm telling you, and they had something to be proud about. Y'all had something to be proud about. You resurrected old Hugh Freeze. And hey, I heard you say, it's rough how he left and all that. But, hey, man, look at us. We had Todd Monken. Todd Monken just went to Georgia and won a national championship as an offensive coordinator. We are a stepping stone school. We embrace the coach that comes and makes a name for himself and goes on to be better. We understand we're Southern Miss, right? We understand we're not Ole Miss. We understand we're not Alabama. We understand that, but it's you embrace it, man. Just embrace the fact that you had Hugh Freeze at one point and the good years he gave you, because right now, as a Southern Miss fan, we're looking back at Todd Monken, Larry Fedora that left for North Carolina, then to Texas. We're looking at those guys and we're like, man, it'd be nice to have a little piece of that, But here we are, and like I said, with going forward, I'm kicking the tires on JB, man. I want to see what he can do. Change the oil, Dad. We going far.
Well, I love the perspective that everybody brings. We kind of got a little bit of everything there. I mean, we had go with Salter, who I know a large part of the fan base supports that. We had to go with Bennett, which I probably would say if you looked at it, probably be about a 50-50. Maybe some fans lean more 60-40 and some fan groups more the other way around. But I'd say you probably hit the two big ones there. That's the big discussion. But bringing up, Reese Mooney, the true freshman, as a potential starter, I love that too. That's what this is about. It's about having that discussion. That's what the point is about. It's about, we have disagreements. Everybody has a different point perspective that they bring to the table, and we're here to try to get that out so everybody gets to hear what all of Liberty fans think and not just one specific mindset or thought process. So I'll wrap up real quick. We are kind of getting close to that, like 10 minutes left. We're going to have to squeeze in 2 points here in 5 minutes each. So I'll wrap up real fast, not to give as many thoughts as I was going to, but just generally overall, I think that, when you look at Bennett, you look at a quarterback who's been reliable with us for a long time. He's been that kind of reliable backup for a while, and then he became the starter last year. And I think he earned his way through that, especially the BYU and the Arkansas game. I think you look at Salter, a quarterback who I think when you look at upside, young, raw talent that can be developed, what he brings to the table as far as a passer, that can definitely be developed, and his natural running ability, that's exciting. So I think you've got a lot of talent there that can be developed. I think that just like Malik Willis, he struggled in the system that Hugh Freeze had in place. Not that Hugh Freeze didn't have a good offensive system. I just don't think he had the weapons to operate it properly. I think Hugh Freeze's system depends around a good deep passing game, which you need good wideouts, and Liberty has mostly slot wide receivers. You need a quarterback who's not necessarily a pocket passer, but who's definitely more of the pocket oriented, where he's more of a gunslinger in the background. I don't think, unlike Chadwell's system, which is designed for the running quarterback specifically, I don't think that Hugh Freeze's offensive system is designed around the running quarterback. I think it can account for it, but I don't think it's designed for it. And I think that hurt Salter a little bit. I think after his groin injury, he came back in, was rusty, and was never really maybe 100%. I think that impacted how he played at the end of the year. So I'm excited about what Salter brings to the table as well. But, you bring up Reese Mooney, man, I could totally ride that train. I could ride that train all day. I could ride that train even if it meant a lower record overall, less wins, more losses next year, if it meant we were building for the future. I'm all about the long-term perspective. I don't get caught up in the now. I'm all about what can we build towards the future here. So I don't know, man. I'm excited for all these guys, and even Trey Lowe. You talk about smart quarterbacks. Everybody knows my Boise State fandom as well. Boise State's had some guys that weren't necessarily the most athletic guys out there, but were smart quarterbacks. You look at Kellen Moore. He got his 50 wins and 3 losses in his time at Boise State because he was just a really smart guy on the field. So you look at a lot of these different guys. I could go with any of them. The only guy I probably think is probably out of the competition is Nate Hampton. But any 4 of these guys, I'd probably lean more Salter for some of the reasons I've said before, but I'd be excited with any of these guys to step on the field and tote the rock for Liberty. But I like how you ended your part, Sippi, talking about let's appreciate the past, look forward to the future. I can definitely get on board with that bit. Obviously we need to be excited about what's happened in the past and be knowledgeable of that and commemorate that, while also building forward to the future, which builds us to this transition about looking forward to this 2023 season. First year in Conference USA, there is a whole ton of games, which I'll read through here real fast. And again, we are right there at the end of the video. So we're going to kind of go through this real quick. Everyone will jump around the room and say maybe something, an overall thought on the schedule and a game they're looking forward to. I don't know how much this applies to you, Sippi. You're welcome to contribute if you like. And then we'll end with just some, we'll kind of wrap both these in together. So give me your initial thoughts on the schedule, a game you're looking forward to, and then your just initial thoughts, hot take or, hot energy off the bat. I don't like using the word hot take because I think it implies disgenuinity, but, a disgenuousness. But your initial reaction to the hiring of Coach Chadwell. So those 3 things, initial thoughts on the schedule, favorite game, and initial thoughts on Chadwell here. And so I'll run through the schedule real quick, and then we'll go around the room. So first off, we got Bowling Green. That's going to be coming. That's going to be at Lynchburg. And then we got New Mexico State. That's also going to be at Liberty. And then we're going to go to Buffalo. We're going to go have a bye week there. Then we're going to play at FIU. Then we're going to have Sam Houston coming to play at Liberty. Then we're going to play at Jacksonville State. So not the JSU that Deion Sanders is from. That got me mixed up a little bit because their logos look similar. But not Jackson State. We got Jacksonville State here. So the Ville is all the importance there. And then we're going to have Middle Tennessee coming to Liberty. Then we're going to go play at Western Kentucky. And then we got Louisiana Tech at Liberty, Old Dominion at Liberty, UMass at Liberty, and then we end the season at UTEP, and then hopefully a conference championship game. We'll see. So around the room, quick 3 things, initial thoughts on schedule, top game, and your thoughts on Chadwell. If you got more to say about the Chadwell thing, like maybe Sippi does, you can lean more into that. But just really quick here. Who wants to start off?
I'll start real quick. Liberty's going undefeated. Liberty's going to go undefeated, 12-0 straight up. I don't know who's leading the way. Maybe it's just Jamie Chadwell, right? Liberty's going undefeated. I can't wait to see the battle of the low show, Middle Tennessee and State and Liberty. And also the bowl game against Southern Miss is going to be awesome, fellas. Just letting y'all know, Southern Miss and we might be both in the Cotton Bowl. Who knows how this is going to work out? But it's going to be great. Y'all going to win the Conference USA. I'm pretty positive y'all will. As far as Jamie Chadwell, man, how cool was that going from Hugh Freeze to Jamie Chadwell? I'm not saying it's an upper thing, but I think it's, a lateral move, right there. I think y'all are, I think you're good, man. I'd be excited for Chadwell. He's had great success wherever he's been. And he's just, there's a lot of hype for Liberty. And I hope y'all are the doggone the Flames, man. We got to fan them, right? I mean, my goodness, I think there's a lot going on with Liberty. Excited for y'all. Great coach, good schedule, man. I was kind of hoping to see a ranked opponent as far as it'd be nice to see y'all beat up on a Vandy or a Kentucky or something just to do it, But no, man, I'm sure I got y'all 12-0, baby.
I love that initial reaction off the bat. Anyone else want to kind of add in here? I can give my piece. If not, I think looking at this schedule right off the bat, obviously you say there's no Power Fives, and that was a big one for a lot of fans, was the lack of maybe the premier opponent, which has kind of been a staple of the Liberty schedule last few years. Even going back to the FCS days, occasionally we play a Power Five and fans would get hyped around that. So I think that's been a staple that fans expect, and I think that will come back, as part of joining Conference USA, something that I've been on record open about. That is not necessarily my favorite thing that Liberty has done. But John, we'll get you in here next. But I think that there are some positives here, and I'm all about looking forward to the future. I'm not caught up in what I thought about what has happened and it's gone. It's done. It's in the past. So I'm excited about the Conference USA move and with some of the positives that it brings here for Liberty as well. And I think that part of that is you're going to lose some Power Fives, and we'll get them on the schedule eventually. But this first year, you've got a weaker schedule. But you know what? You've got a brand new head coach. You've got a quarterback position that is not secure. We don't know who it's going to be. You've got a lot of new recruits coming in. I mentioned the issues at wide receiver. We've now got 3 running backs that we got to sort out. You've got a defense that lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal. So this is a good first year for the new coach and the team that's going to look a little bit different. This is a good kind of get your feet wet schedule. This is an opportunity to come in here, even with a team that has a lot of question marks, still talking about 10 wins potentially, and I think 12-0 is on the table, and how often can you say that about a brand new coaching hire with a team that I wouldn't say they're in disarray, but definitely doesn't have stability? How many times can you look around college football and say, that team could be that's crazy. So while I would like to see a Power 5 matchup, something that gets us the national audience, I think that going 12-0 here will get Liberty some recognition, or even going 10-2 and 9-3 is going to build positive vibes for this program, something they can build around and go forward to the future. Naming the game, I'm choking on myself there, but game I'm most excited about, I'll be honest, there's a ton I'm excited about here for different reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the game I'm probably most excited about is going to be Western Kentucky. I think when you look at this schedule, they're probably the closest to us as far as caliber of program is. I do think that Liberty's going to be the best team in Conference USA, hands down, even this year with their question marks around them. And eventually they're going to build to where they're going to be undefeatable. They're going to be the Bama, or do we say Georgia now of their conference? But it's in some way. But I think that they are eventually going to be that team that is either the top of their program, of their conference. I think even coming in here, they've got to step up on most of these teams. But I think Western Kentucky could give us a run for their money. Western Kentucky fans are a nice group of people. They've been interacting a little bit on Twitter, and I think that's going to be an exciting one. I know a lot of Liberty fans live near that too, so we might be able to turn that into a little bit of a home environment, or maybe a neutral site kind of look with some Liberty fans making the trip. So that's my one, and we'll go here. John, what you got? Oh, sorry, I didn't say Chadwell. Thoughts on Chadwell? Love him. It's going to be exciting. I think it is a lateral move or close to it. I was super excited for Hugh Freeze, but I'm excited for what Chadwell brings to the program, especially the style of offense that he brings at Coastal Carolina. Sorry, I wanted to get my third one. Hey, go. You're good, John. You go.
Real quickly, I'll tell you, the game I'm looking forward to is Jacksonville State. I think it's going to be a rivalry. It's going to go years and years and years. And they also have a really good coach. I think it's going to be a good coaching battle. I will say, to your point, about the fact we don't have a power team on our schedule. If you look over the pond, over to UTEP and even newcomer New Mexico State, they are playing power teams, and New Mexico State's actually playing Auburn. So really, I think I put that in the hands of Ian, and he has a reasoning to why he did our schedule the way he did, but power teams will come back. As far as on Chadwell, I think I wrote an article on him, so I kind of have a passion about him. He's a solid Christian man. That's the biggest thing. And listen, I wrote in my article, I said, happy wife, happy life. Listen, you look at Hugh Freeze, he says, my wife loves it here. But when you look at Chadwell, his wife said, no more moving. So I think there's a good loyalty there. I think we're going to see him fulfill his contract. I think to the fullest. Time will tell. You never know. But we have a lot of facilities. We have the private jet. So he's going to make it happen. If at Coastal Carolina, he had far less, and he did very well. So now he has more. So that's my take on it.
My man said jet flying, baby. Watch out. Old Ric Flair. Well, better watch it.
Yeah, that's right.
Great perspective, John. You're right. You talk about far less than the facilities he's coming at Coastal Carolina. It's basically a high school gym coming to come and play at Liberty. Definitely a big step up. What do you, Josh?
Exactly. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, Josh.
Hey, yeah, I think, man, I echo a lot of what you guys are already saying. Really, I think at first. I was with Jacob where I thought, man, I'm upset about the Power 5 teams getting removed and all that. That was prior to Chadwell, because that was during the Freeze era, man. And when Freeze left, I thought, wow, that's a lot better schedule for a new coach coming in. Personally, when Freeze left as well, guys, my number one guy on my list was Chadwell as well, man. I was hoping it was Chadwell for what he had done at Coastal. So I was very pumped up about that move for Liberty. As far as the schedule, guys, I think, man, we definitely have a shot to go 12-0. I agree with Sippi. If not 12-0, I'm thinking at least the worst, maybe 10-2 in that conference this year. With everything we do have coming back, we still do have a lot of depth on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, and then as far as the team, man, I was going to say Western Kentucky. I'm with you, Jacob, but here's another one for you. New Mexico State, man, the way that ended last year, guys. So I had just gone to the Virginia Tech game and I drove from Colorado out to Virginia for that game. We lost, and I'm thinking, okay, well, at least we'll beat New Mexico State. And then we got throttled. And we found out Freeze was leaving, complete debacle. So I'm looking forward to some redemption against New Mexico State, man. We need to take care of business in that game. But that's my thoughts real quick, man.
Definitely a revenge matchup, man. I was excited about a lot of them. One of the ones that I'm excited about, and I don't. Any other year I would have been excited about New Mexico State. We played them a bunch of times before, but I mean, if there was ever an opportunity to just go out and just destroy someone who deserves it, New Mexico State.
Yeah, I'm with you there, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what Josh was saying about New Mexico State. That's really the only game that comes up next year that really that I have my focus on, because I just want to get revenge on them for that embarrassment that they put us through this year. I wasn't at that game for that one, but I was at work and I was watching it, and I had people coming into my restaurant at halftime from the game. I was like, I'm so sorry that y'all had to go through that. Y'all had to witness maybe the worst game that Liberty has performed in on the FBS level since we had Hugh Freeze come up to take over coaching. But this schedule is super easy. I don't see any reason why we can't go 12-0. And that being said, it kind of annoys me just a little bit that we don't have any major matchups coming up. I really would have loved to see a Wake Forest rematch, given that game came down to the wire and we really only lost that game because there was kind of a very questionable decision by Hugh Freeze to go for 2, which I stood by at the time, but I'm kind of iffy on it now. Looking back, we were 1-0 in overtime games at that point. I don't know why we didn't just take it to overtime. But I'm hoping that Jamie Chadwell can bring a new culture to Liberty that is very much needed. I'm a big Vikings fan, and we saw Kevin O'Connell come in this season, and he's been working miracles for that team, making Kirk Cousins look like Patrick Mahomes in some of these games. But really hoping to see Jamie Chadwell do the same thing, unlock some of these quarterbacks and just stick to one, and hopefully we could go 12, 13, and maybe 14-0, given that conference championship is not out of the question.
Well, awesome. That was a great perspective from everybody. Thanks so much for coming on. I bet on me, I didn't actually really kind of introduce everybody besides Sippi at the beginning. Just to kind of wrap up here, we've got Duke Snyder, and I'll just kind of go with my screen the way it's gone. Duke Snyder, he's one of our newest contributors. He takes the photographs for the point. He's at a lot of the Liberty games and the Liberty men's and women's basketball games and the football games. We got Josh Burdick, or Joshua Burdick, how he kind of goes by Josh. But he's very active on Twitter. He's very active with the point, writing a lot during the football season. Then we got John Niles, and he's kind of been my partner in crime running this thing. Not kind of, he is. He definitely is. I couldn't do it without him. He's definitely been big in helping me get the point off the ground, not just running our website, but being a big part of the process of getting writers in and getting articles posted and everything as well. And then, of course, Sippi, and then I'm Mr. Exclamation Point. So thanks, everybody, for coming on and having this discussion today. This was great. Maybe ran a little longer than I intended, but that's totally fine. The discussion was great. We didn't go an hour and a half, so that's totally fine. So thanks, everybody, for coming on. I know we had to rush through those last 2 points there at the beginning, but the main thing today was talking about this quarterback discussion. There'll be a discussion point throughout the rest of the year. We may or may not touch on it again, maybe if a starter gets named at some point, or depending on how the spring game goes. But we'll have a whole new set of new topics for you next month. We're going to come back together where you might even see some new faces, and you should see a new special guest coming on the show. We're going to talk about some new interesting things that are going on with Liberty football, and we don't even know what they are yet, because it's all going to depend on what's happening and what's going on. We might talk about some basketball. We'll talk about Liberty sports. It'll be 3 topics discussing some aspect of Liberty athletics. So make sure that you save the point in your browser, or newer to the website, newer to the internet, so it still takes a while sometimes for it to come up in some Google or searches like that. So make sure that you, wherever you access this on, just save that as a favorite so you can access it again easily until we are around long enough to kind of start popping up in some normal searches. And then make sure we'll try. I think we're going to put this on some kind of YouTube as well and start getting to that game. So make sure you give that a follow. But most importantly, if you do one thing today, make sure that you follow Sippi Sports Show on YouTube. Go in there, give that little subscribe. YouTube calls it subscribe, but it's really a follow. It doesn't cost you anything. Make sure you go give him a subscribe. He was a great guest today, as you can see, a very entertaining personality with some great perspectives as well. And just down to earth guys, I think was very clear and obvious today. So make sure you go give him a subscribe. Make sure I'll put the link to his Twitter on as well. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. He's active on that as well. So thanks so much for everybody coming on. I don't want to just say especially to one person, but this was a little bit of an abnormal circumstance for you. So thank you for coming on, Sippi especially. But everybody, thanks for being part of this program, this discussion. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us today. Hopefully we you enjoyed the discussion as much as we did. And even if just one person watches it, I enjoyed having this discussion and talking with you guys all about football, Liberty football specifically. So thanks so much for coming. Thanks for everybody for being here. And as always, go Flames!